Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City Council meeting for the City of Wheatridge, Colorado for September 27th, 2021. As you are able, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would the Deputy Clerk please call the roll of the members?
Janice Hoppy,
Present.
Judy Hutchinson,
Present.
Zachary Urban,
Present.
Rachel Holteen,
Present.
Amanda Weaver,
Here.
Corey Stites,
Present.
Leah Dozman,
Here.
and Valerie Nosler Beck.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. We are at the approval of the minutes, and I would like to recognize the Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to ask that we remove the minutes for approval for tonight and that they be represented at another meeting, citing multiple inconsistencies.
Are there any objections to holding the minutes, returning those to our city clerk for some corrections? Seeing none, we will return the minutes to the clerk and they will come back again. We are at the approval of the agenda. Without objection, we'll go with the agenda as published. So ordered. And we've got several proclamations tonight. So I'm going to move to the podium and we'll go from there. We have a proclamation for Domestic Violence Awareness Month in October, and I'd like to ask Scott Shields, the CEO with Family Tree, and Rachel Rodriguez, also with Family Tree, to join me at the podium. Thank you. It's a proclamation for Domestic Violence Month, October 2021. Whereas domestic violence impacts countless Coloradans without regard to age, race, religion, or economic status. As victims suffer at the hands of a spouse or partner, it affects their children, their families, and the entire community. And whereas the City of Wheatridge is committed to the reduction of domestic violence and the health, safety, and welfare of its residents. And whereas the Wheatridge Police Department is committed to providing assistance to victims and witnesses of crimes and other traumatic events through victim assistance partnerships and awareness-related efforts and events. And whereas Wheatridge joins with others across Colorado and the nation in supporting victims of domestic violence and shares the worthy goals of this month-long observance, and likewise supports the work of public and private entities that strive to provide the best coordinated response to domestic violence in communities across this state, sending a loud and clear message to abusers that domestic violence is not tolerated in the City of Wheatridge. Now therefore be it resolved that on behalf of the City Council and the people of the City of Wheatridge, I, Bud Starker, Mayor of the City of Wheatridge, Colorado, by virtue of the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the City of Wheatridge. In witness thereof, this 27th day of September 2021, Bud Starker, Mayor. Say a few words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, City Council, for continuing to make sure that Domestic Violence Awareness Month is recognized and that we're taking action in the City of Wheatridge and in our community. It's still an incredibly important issue, as I know you all are aware, And so we're grateful for the time and energy you give to this issue. As you know, Family Tree's been in our community for over 45 years. We work on and partner with people to address the interconnected issues of child abuse and neglect, domestic violence, and homelessness, to promote healing, safety, and stability, and we work with all generations to achieve those results. And so just within that purpose and that mission statement, I just want to highlight the importance of the interconnectedness of those issues of child abuse and neglect, domestic violence, and homelessness. And while I think we can all agree that domestic violence is a scourge in our society, it's also prominent in how it creates and enhances other challenges in our community, including the issues of homelessness and child abuse. And so I, again, just want to thank the mayor and city council for this important proclamation. And I'd also like to ask my colleague, Rachel, to share a little bit more about the important impact that Family Tree's domestic violence services are having in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, City Council, for acknowledging October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. 1 in every 4 women and 1 in every 7 men have experienced severe physical violence by an intimate partner in their lifetime. This is according to statistics for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. Those numbers are staggering and unacceptable. In the fiscal year of July 20 to June 2021, we had 205 new clients experiencing domestic violence. Of those 205, 124 of those were from Jefferson County. In the previous fiscal year, we had 128 new clients, and 73 of those clients were from Jefferson County. As you can see, over the course of the last year, the impact of COVID has impacted an uptick in domestic violence. And so you know someone probably that is experiencing domestic violence. And we want to highlight in October a clinic on how to help. It's going to be virtual. It's on Wednesday, October 27th from 5 to 7 p.m. And we encourage you to participate because more than likely you know someone and you want to be able to help them. We've had lots of callers reach out to us saying that they have a loved one who's experiencing domestic violence and they don't know what to do. So reach out to www.thefamilytree.org and to get more information on there. And then wear purple. Purple is the color of domestic violence awareness on Thursday, October 21st. Get on your social media and tag Family Tree. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yes.
Yes, we're going to. Thank you, and thanks to the work that Family Tree does in our community to combat family violence. Appreciate it. Our next proclamation is for Breast Cancer Awareness Month in October 21, and I'm pleased to have online on the Zoom format with us Dr. Karen Log, who is the Medical Director of Oncology Services at Lutheran Medical Center. Dr. Log, thank you for joining us tonight.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. Can you guys hear me okay?
We can.
Great, thank you.
Okay, a proclamation, Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October 2021. Whereas October 2021 marks 36 years that National Breast Cancer Awareness Month has educated women about early breast cancer detection, diagnosis, and treatment. And whereas 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer within their lifetime. And whereas when breast cancer is detected early and is in the localized stage, the 5-year survival rate for women is 99%. And whereas the awareness campaign is remembering those who have lost their fight against breast cancer, standing with those who remember their loved ones, and continuing to support our nation's advocates. And whereas the American Cancer Society has searched endlessly for a cure through vital research and has the mammoth task of educating our community and all Americans of the risks of breast cancer. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Wheatridge Mayor and City Council wish to recognize October 1 through October 31, 2021, as Breast Cancer Awareness Month and encourage residents of Wheatridge to celebrate successes and memorialize those lost battles. In witness thereof, on this 27th day of September 2021, Bud Starker, Mayor. And Dr. Log, if you'd like to say a few words, we'd love to hear from you.
Mayor, again, thank you very much, and just really want to echo the words that you were saying, and how when we look at mammograms, they're by far the most effective means of actually finding cancers at an early stage. And the great thing about it is that it can actually provide that 99% chance of cure. And we definitely acknowledge that nobody wants to go through mammograms, but just like, everything else, again, we know that the great thing about a mammogram is that, once you get your mammogram and you know that it's negative, it actually gives you that peace of mind that that's something you won't have to worry about. And one of the best things that we can provide you is peace of mind. Sometimes when we control blood pressure, again, it's something that's constant, that you're always having to, watch your blood sugars, watch your blood pressure. There's medication you have to take on a daily basis. The great thing about a mammogram is, again, you do it once, you get it done. Again, you know that your risk of having breast cancer at that time is low, and again, check it off the list and you move on and you continue with your life. And so again, we'd highly encourage as many women as they can to get annual mammograms. But again, we would also recommend other screening modalities like colon cancer screening and even cervical cancer screening. So I really appreciate the time, and again, thank you for letting us be a part of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Doctor, and thank you for helping us educate our citizens and for the great work that Lutheran Medical Center does in our community. We appreciate all of your efforts, so thank you so much.
Thanks again, Mayor. You take care.
Okay, we have one more recognition, a really exciting one, to recognize two neighborhoods in our community, in our city, for their Sustainable Neighborhood Certificate Award. And I want to invite Kayla Betzold up to the podium to help me out with this. She produced tonight's ceremony. Kayla, before we get started, I want to thank you for putting this together. So you've done a great job with this program. So tonight we are recognizing the achievements of the Sustainable Neighborhoods program. Applewood Villages and Paramount Heights became the first two Wheatridge neighborhoods to join the program in 2020. Over the last year, they worked to plan and manage workshops, events, and projects in their neighborhoods that advance sustainability. The city's sustainability coordinator, Kayla Betzold, is here tonight to give us an overview of the neighborhood's achievements, and I will be presenting each neighborhood with one of their street signs that will be installed on a major roadway within their neighborhood, designating them as an official Wheatridge Sustainable Neighborhood. Kayla?
Thank you, Mayor Starker. I have a short presentation to share with you all tonight. So good evening, Council and Mayor Starker, and thank you all for having us here tonight. I'm here to highlight tonight the fantastic work of our first two sustainable neighborhoods, Applewood Villages and Paramount Heights. As a reminder, the goal of the Sustainable Neighborhoods program is to advance neighborhood climate action and empower residents to create sustainable and resilient communities. The structure of the program differs from other city programs in that it is neighborhood-led. So the residents plan, manage, and implement projects in their own neighborhood based off of interest survey results from their neighbors. The projects that they create earn neighborhood credits towards an annual certification in the program. And we're here tonight to celebrate these two neighborhoods earning their first year of certification. The program goal areas are energy, air, water, land, and people. All projects must fit into at least one of these categories, and these categories also match up with the topic areas outlined in the Sustainability Action Plan. So there's two levels of certification in this program, and both of the Wheatridge neighborhoods that are here tonight have reached the Outstanding Neighborhood Certification and will be receiving, like Mayor Starker said, street signs installed in their neighborhood to showcase their achievements and their progress through the program. And before we begin, I do have one announcement about the program, and that is that I'm pleased to inform you that the Sustainable Neighborhoods program has expanded just this month. So the application was open this summer, and we are now onboarding two new neighborhoods, Fruitdale and Panorama Park. Fruitdale is our first new neighborhood outlined in purple on the map, and Panorama Park is in orange on the map, located in East Wheatridge. So welcome to both of the new neighborhoods, and I'm sure I will be here again in the future showcasing their achievements as well. So in the first part of this presentation, I'd like to highlight Sustainable Applewood Villages. So Sustainable Applewood Villages boundaries are from 29th to 38th and Youngfield to Sims, so on the border of Wheatridge and Lakewood. This neighborhood consists of about 700 homes, and over the last year, these neighbors completed 34 projects, events, and workshops, and I'd like to highlight some of their achievements right now. So first, I'd like to highlight a project that both Applewood Villages and Paramount Heights residents collaborated on. So this year, we hosted our first annual citywide paint recycling event in May. Volunteers from both of the neighborhoods, shown in the photos here, volunteered on the day of the event to make it a success. Over 300 residents attended this event, and we collected over 36,000 pounds of paint that was diverted from the landfill and will be recycled into new paint. So this event will be held annually in the spring, and we are excited in 2022 for all 4 of our sustainable neighborhoods to participate. Applewood Village's residents participated in the citywide yard waste drop-off event last fall by collecting bagged leaves from neighbors that didn't have a way to transport their own yard waste to the larger event. This was their first project in the Sustainable Neighborhoods program, and they collected over 100 bags of leaves from neighbors that were composted through the larger citywide event. Their next large event was an electronic waste and battery recycling event last spring. Over 2,600 pounds of electronics and over 200 pounds of batteries were recycled at this event, with almost 100 neighbors participating. And Applewood Villages has been really wonderful about building in the people category into their events by adding donation drives to support our local community. At the electronics event, over $3,000 worth of donated items were collected to support the homeless navigation program and local organizations providing kids' clothing and supplies to those in need. The neighbors are right now in the process of an Afghan refugee donation drive and are collecting items to be donated next weekend. Other than supporting those in need, donation drives also divert material from the landfill, and donation drives promote reusing materials rather than throwing them away and buying new. Applewood Villages began hosting neighborhood food trucks in 2020 as a way to support local businesses during COVID and to build community and give neighbors a way to connect and get the word out also about their other sustainable neighborhoods projects and events that they had going. When the leadership team surveyed their neighbors to ask what types of projects they'd be interested in, 90% of the survey respondents said that they were interested in a neighborhood preferred waste hauler. So the leadership team worked last year and this year with a local company to develop a program with competitive pricing, sustainable waste options like pay-as-you-throw, and curbside compost pickup for both food scraps and yard waste. Through this voluntary program, neighbors can also purchase Sustainable Neighborhood branded carts, as you can see in the photo on the screen. Throughout the year, Applewood Villages has completed other projects as well, like a composting workshop with a local worm compost expert and a cleanup event at their neighborhood open space. Thank you, Applewood Villages leadership team, for all of your hard work this past year, and congratulations for achieving outstanding neighborhood certification. I can't wait to see what projects you have for the rest of this year and next year. So with that, I am going to hand it back over to Mayor Starker to say a few words.
Okay, great work by Sustainable Applewood Villages. And I'd like to invite the Sustainable Applewood Villages residents who are here tonight to come to the front of the room and be recognized. Thank you to the leadership team and all of the residents of Sustainable Applewood Villages for their hard work and dedication to this program over the last year. The neighborhood has earned enough credits to reach Outstanding Sustainable Neighborhood certification and to recognize your efforts. I would like to present you with one of the Applewood Village's Sustainable Neighborhood street signs that will be installed in your neighborhood. Let's make sure we got the right one. Each year, these signs will be updated with the current year as a way to recognize your continued efforts towards sustainability through this program. Congratulations again on achieving this certification. Thank you for your leadership and continue the great work. So, I'd like to present this all to you. Absolutely. Let's go. Yeah. But you guys are all part of the program. That's right.
Can you look at me?
Thank you all again so much. And now our sustainability coordinator will tell us about the achievements of our second sustainable neighborhood, Paramount Heights.
Thank you, Mayor Strucker. So next, I'd like to highlight Sustainable Paramount Heights. Paramount Heights is a neighborhood in southwest Wheatridge from 26th to 32nd and Otis Street to Kipling, bordering Lakewood on its west side. The neighborhood has about 300 homes, and their group completed 21 projects and events over the last year to earn them Outstanding Neighborhood certification. To educate their neighbors, Paramount Heights hosted multiple workshops throughout the year. This is a photo from the recent electric vehicle workshop where neighbors had the opportunity to learn about many different models of EVs. Paramount Heights also hosted an electronic waste and battery recycling event this year. And as you can see, they collected quite the variety of items at this event. The neighbors collected over 1,600 pounds of electronics and over 200 pounds of batteries. Many of the neighbors reached out and asked that the group continue to offer battery recycling opportunities, and so the leadership team has begun building battery recycling into other projects as well. I wanted to highlight this project as it's a very innovative idea, similar to the little library concept in which neighbors can take and leave books. Paramount Heights created a native seed library at a neighbor's house. Through this project, neighbors could visit the native seed library throughout the growing season to learn more and to take home native seed packets. Paramount Heights is a close-knit neighborhood, and they've put together various outdoor activities throughout the last year. This is a photo from a yoga in the park class in the spring, and in 2020, they also developed a contactless wildlife walkers program to keep their neighbors connected during COVID. So in this program, neighbors walked throughout the neighborhood, photographed wildlife that they saw, and then uploaded the photos and locations to the neighborhood social media page. And so this way, they could still feel a sense of community and learn how to live with the wildlife in their neighborhood while staying safe during the pandemic. Some of you may have seen the Sustainable Neighborhoods float in the Carnation Festival Parade, and this project was organized and led by Paramount Heights. So Cody the horse, who's pictured here, is a neighborhood favorite, and the group decided to showcase Cody, their amazing neighbors, and the Sustainable Neighborhoods program as a whole as they walked in the parade and gave out pencils to kids along the way. Paramount Heights added food trucks to many of their outdoor events this past year as a way to get their neighbors together and to spread the word about sustainable neighborhoods projects and events that were coming up. The leadership team decided to take it a step further and worked with the food truck vendors to ensure that they were all using compostable items, making all of their food truck get-togethers zero waste. And this fall, Paramount Heights is hosting a monthly themed recycling event at their zero waste get-togethers as well. Paramount Heights, congratulations on a great first year. Your team worked so hard to plan, manage, and implement projects that benefit your neighbors, your neighborhood, and the Wheatridge community. Thank you for your commitment, and I can't wait to see what you think of next. If anyone would like to learn more about the Sustainable Neighborhoods program, please visit the website or email me at the address listed on the screen. And next, I will hand it over to Mayor Starker to present your neighborhood with your award. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla, and great work by Sustainable Paramount Heights. I'd like to also invite Sustainable Paramount Heights up to the podium, and so we can recognize you. Thank you very much for great work that you guys do. Thank you to your leadership team and all of the residents of Sustainable Paramount Heights for their commitment to this program over the last year. Their hard work and collaboration has earned their neighborhood enough credits to reach outstanding Sustainable Neighborhood certification. To recognize your efforts, I would like to present you with one of the Paramount Heights Sustainable Neighborhood street signs that will be installed in your neighborhood. These signs will be located on prominent roadways in your neighborhood, and each year the sign will be updated with the current year as a way to recognize your continuing efforts towards sustainability through this program. Congratulations again on achieving this certification, and thank you for your leadership. And here is the Sustainable Paramount Heights sign that will be going up in the neighborhood. And we've got a photo op here, so take your mask off. So thank you all very much. Congratulations to both neighborhoods for earning outstanding Sustainable Neighborhood certification. Their first year in the program. We look forward to hearing more about your achievements in the future. And the City of Wheatridge thanks you for your commitment to sustainability through the Sustainable Neighborhoods program. And I also want to say a special thank you to Kayla Betzold. This is the first time. Kayla is pretty new with our community here, and thank you for the work in organizing this and the great work that you've done with the neighborhood. So we look forward to more of it. So, thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is the public's right to speak. Members of the public may speak on any matter that is not on the agenda for a maximum of 3 minutes under the public's right to speak. I will read off the list of speakers that I have, and when I read your name, if you would please come to the podium and give us your first name and your last name. If you would please spell your last name for the record and give us your address. You'll be green lighted to speak, and so we've got a little light system to keep our timing going. When the green light will appear when the speaker commences speaking and the time starts, the green light will flash when the speaker has 30 seconds remaining. The yellow light appears when the speaker has 15 seconds remaining, so please conclude your remarks. And when the red light comes on, your time has expired, and we would appreciate your concluding your remarks. The first speaker I have on my list is Ihor Figlis.
Good evening. My name is Ihor Figlis. I live at 9775 West 36th Avenue, and I am a candidate for City Council in District 3. The reason I'm appearing before you tonight is because I want to talk about bulk plane. Bulk plane, you're all familiar with, is an issue that has appeared on the Wheatridge citizen surveys for the last several rounds and has been widely approved. We were very happy when Councilperson Hoppy brought this item up at a study session agenda several months ago. However, there was a lot of disappointment that City Council did not push this matter forward, but postponed it until next year. I would like to encourage City Council to bring this item forward, put it on the agenda, and implement bulk plain building regulations for all residential construction in Wheatridge. Construction in Wheatridge has not abated. The problem has not gone away. There's no reason to postpone it. Do it now. Thank you.
Thank you. I have no one else signed up here to speak, but if you are in the room in City Hall here with us, you may come to the podium now, and I'm going to ask whether we have any speakers on our online Zoom format who raised their hands to speak. And is there anyone with their hands raised? I don't see anyone there, and I don't see anyone here at the podium, so we will close our public's right to speak, and we will go to agenda item number 1. This is our consent agenda item. Ms. Hoppy, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce consent agenda item 1A, resolution number 472021, a resolution by the City of Wheatridge, Colorado, in support of joining the Colorado Communities for Climate Action. At issue, Colorado Communities for Action, CC4CA, is a coalition of counties and municipalities advocating for a strong state and federal climate policy. To become a CC4CA member, all agencies are required to pass a resolution in support of joining the program. Consent agenda item 1B, resolution number 482021, a resolution authorizing submittal of an application for a 2022 Colorado Parks and Wildlife non-motorized trail grant for consulting work from the Leave No Trace Center for Outdoor Ethics. At issue, the Parks and Rec Department is applying for a Colorado Parks and Wildlife non-motorized trails grant for funding for the Leave No Trace Center for Outdoor Ethics to consult on research, analysis, and recommendations for implementing and communicating the Leave No Trace principles throughout the trails and trailheads within the Wheatridge Greenbelt and Lewis Meadows open space. A resolution of support is required from City Council to apply for this grant.
Thank you. This is our consent agenda item. These are 2 resolutions of council. They are not quasi-judicial. Ms. Hoppy, a motion is in order.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve consent agenda items 1A and B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Stites. Will the clerk please poll the council?
Motion carries 8-0.
Thank you. We will move to our agenda item number 2. Ms. Weaver, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is Council Bill number 16-2021, an ordinance amending Chapter 26 of the Wheatridge Code of Laws regarding outdoor recreational equipment on private property, case number ZOA-21-02. At issue, the zoning code in Chapter 26 of the Code of Laws includes very few regulations related to outdoor recreational equipment. City Council has determined that it is appropriate to amend the code to limit the size of private recreational equipment, particularly those which are permanent in nature. The purpose of this amendment is to allow for reasonable, common sense enjoyment of recreational equipment in residential yards.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. It is a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial, and I'm going to open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do we have an additional staff presentation?
We do. Lauren Mikulak, our planning manager, is joining us this evening through Zoom.
Okay, Ms. Mikulak, continue.
Thank you. Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great, thank you. I'll keep my remarks fairly brief tonight. We have discussed this topic twice over the summer in June and in August, and the ordinance before you is reflective of the direction that you provided at those study sessions. So we're amending the code to distinguish between temporary and permanent outdoor recreational equipment. We have established dimensional standards for the permanent equipment on residential properties. Added sort of most recently to the code amendment, we've ensured that relief from those standards can be considered through a variance review process. And lastly, we included an amortization period, meaning that any equipment that currently exists on a residential property, which we would become aware of through a complaint, would be required to be modified to comply with the code. We discussed that amortization clause at the last study session in August, and the ordinance proposes a compliance deadline within 6 months of effective date. The Planning Commission did review the ordinance at a public hearing earlier this month, and your meeting packet included the minutes and the public comment from that hearing. There was comment in support just in general of regulating these kinds of equipment and comment specifically about the height and size limits. And ultimately, the commission did recommend approval for the ordinance as it's written. In advance of tonight's meeting, we did have one comment on Wheatridge Speak, again, supporting regulation in general and commenting specifically on the height limitation. And we didn't receive any additional comment other than that one prior to tonight's hearing. That's all I'll have to say by way of introduction, but I'm happy to take questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Before we go to questions from council, I would like to open it up for public comment on this agenda item number 2. I do not have anyone signed up in our City Hall to speak on this item, but if you have not signed up but would like to speak, you may do so now, and I will ask if there's anyone in the Zoom format who would like to speak on this item. If you would please raise your hand, and we will bring you into the meeting, and you may speak to council.
Mayor, we have Kathleen B.
Okay, if Kathleen would please join us. If you would please give us your first name and your last name, and spell your last name for the record, and give us your address, and then you may continue.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Okay, my name is Kathleen Baccarini. That's Kathleen Baccarini. And I live at 11065 Linda Vista Drive in Lakewood. And I own the property at 10745 West 35th Ave in Wheatridge.
Please continue.
Okay. Thank you very much for taking this into consideration. I've been in person at all of the prior meetings and actually brought this up to council. Our home is directly affected by the structure, as are many others, by this recreational structure. So we would like to just voice our support once again, because our daily living and that of my tenant right now and the people surrounding this is greatly impacted from a privacy point of view, just because of the height of this structure, the noise, and, you know, just the constant back and forth from it. So we would like to say that although it's one structure, sometimes we've heard that, the impact is to so many people in the neighborhood. And so we really encourage Wheatridge to please regulate this, because it only takes one person putting in a structure like this to ruin the peace and quiet and living of many other people. So we are very much in support of regulating, structures so this can't happen to other people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We don't have anyone wishing to speak in the City Hall. I'll go to Ms. Scheck and see if are there any other speakers on the Zoom format that have raised their hand who would like to speak. And we do not have any, so I'm going to close the public comment on this item and open it up to questions from council of staff. Ms. Soltine.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have just a question about calculating any variance that an applicant might go for. So if it's less than 50% variance and it's an administrative review, can you just give a little bit more information about how you'd be measuring 50% and what are some of the criteria that are used during an administrative review period?
Sure. So we calculate 50% as a ratio of sort of what's proposed versus what's required. So for example, I'll use a fence example because we get that most often. When the code requires a 6-foot fence, but anything over 9 foot would require a hearing that's 50% higher, so 3 feet more. Any variance, whether it's above or below that 50% threshold, is subject to 9 criteria that are listed in the code. They relate very specifically to the fact pattern of the request. So every request for variance has to stand on its own merits. They relate to the significance of the investment, the character of the area, and fundamentally what we advise applicants is you need to explain why the rules that apply to everybody else in Wheatridge shouldn't have to apply to you. So what is the unique physical hardship in this case that necessitates a variance? So economics is not typically going to allow variance to be approved. We do have some design standards. Those typically wouldn't apply to a variance request like this. But from a code standpoint, those variances which are eligible for staff review, so less than 50%, are required to meet a majority of the review criteria. So it can be a few things that kicks it to a public hearing. Either the request exceeds 50%, or the criteria, a majority of the criteria are not met, so we can't approve it administratively. Or the third fact pattern that would require a hearing could be that a public, or an opposition is received during the public posting. So that's the criteria in brief. The Board of Adjustment is required to consider the criteria, but is not as beholden to that majority criteria compliance.
Great, thank you. And then my second question is regarding the amortization aspect of this. And can you just clarify, if somebody has an existing in-ground pool, is there any chance that they would be subjected to the amortization schedule if somebody complained about it?
No, so the dimensional standards that we've added newly to the code do not apply to in-ground pools in terms of size, height, or setback.
Okay, great, thank you.
Additional questions from council? Before I close the public hearing, I'm going to close the public hearing, and Ms. Weaver, a motion is in order.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve Council Bill Number 16, 2021, an ordinance amending Chapter 26 of the Wheatridge Code of Laws regarding outdoor recreational equipment on private property on second reading, and that it take effect 15 days after final publication.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Urban. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. Weaver.
I just wanted to thank staff and all of the neighborhood involvement around the work that's gone into thoughtfully changing this code. So thank you, everybody.
Additional discussion on the motion. Mr. Stites.
Just to ditto what Ms. Weaver said, I appreciate the staff's hard work on this and the neighbors' patience on this. This is definitely something that's come up quite a bit, even as I've been knocking on doors in the neighborhood, even blocks and blocks away. This is kind of a nuisance, so definitely appreciate the staff's hard work and the neighbors' patience on this.
Thank you. Ms. Hulteen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Last time we talked about this, Mr. Johnstone was so nice to help explain how we'd be looking at permanent versus not permanent structures. And I see what's proposed here does list trampolines as potentially not permanent structures. And I would like to, I'd like to propose that we strike trampolines specifically listed as a not permanent structure and rather let that be at the discretion of the planning director or whoever's reviewing that. They are substantial pieces of equipment, and I would like to propose that they aren't exempted. So what?
Are you proposing an amendment to the motion?
Yes, I am proposing an amendment to the motion. So I'd like to propose that in section 2, we strike the word trampolines from the list of recreational equipment. Oh, wait, sorry, I'm in the wrong place. Sorry, now I'm in, I believe I'm in the right place. Section 5, Section 3F5. As examples, only recreational equipment that is essentially temporary may include portable goals, et cetera, and it goes on to include above-ground trampolines. So I'm proposing we strike above-ground trampolines specifically listed there.
We have an amendment. Is there a second on the amendment? We have a second by Ms. Weaver on the amendment. Is there discussion on the amendment?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Urban.
I guess I would ask the city attorney, as it relates to that language, it appears as though it's listing potential examples, and it doesn't necessarily give it as a criteria for exemption. So what would be the net effect of eliminating that language?
Well, let's remember that two things. One, this is a list of examples, but those examples have to relate back to the first sentence in paragraph 5. So permanence is determined at the discretion of the community development director. And so the list that follows are things that may or may not be permanent in the discretion of the community development director. So I think removing above-ground trampolines doesn't prevent the community development director from determining on a case-by-case basis that a given trampoline is permanent or is temporary. It removes, I suppose, an inference that above-ground trampolines are permanent. But again, the structure of the section clearly gives the ultimate discretion to the community development director. And there may be kinds of facilities that aren't even listed, and therefore, the community development director has that discretion.
Thank you.
Is there additional discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, we will go to a vote on the amendment. Will the clerk please poll the council on the First Amendment? Okay. We will continue discussion. We will go back to the main motion, continue discussion on the main motion. Or is there additional discussion on the main motion? Ms. Hoppy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just would like to say that while this is well-written, and I do appreciate the direction that staff took as far as kind of following along with accessory sheds and whatnot to go towards this, I feel like this is an ordinance that is working to improve one single bad actor in our community, and I don't feel like that's a good way for us to write code. It's not necessarily a trend or anything that we fear will become a trend. So I will not be supporting this.
Is there additional discussion on the motion? Ms. Dozeman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank Ms. Hoppy for her comments. As I've been mulling this over, I do appreciate staff's thorough work on this ordinance. However, I also believe that we have one bad apple in the community that we are trying to regulate the entire city for. And it has been my understanding, and I had asked this in a previous meeting, in regards to whether there were other complaints about various playground equipment, and to my knowledge, there hasn't been. And so to have this blanket policy imposed on all of the rest of the city because of one bad actor, I agree, and especially adhering to it retroactively, that I have an issue with. So thank you for those comments, and I also will not be supporting this tonight.
Ms. Nosler-Beck.
I just wanted to add that I won't be supporting this tonight either. And in addition to what Councilor Hoppy said and Councilor Dozeman, the retroactive component to this makes it hard for me to push the button yes on this one. So thanks.
Thank you. Is there additional discussion? Ms. Weaver.
I would just like to remind everybody that while this is written specifically for a structure, this is a structure that affects 25 to 50 homes in Wheatridge. And it can be seen from the street, and you know, I would ask that this be supported, because this does affect a lot of people in Wheatridge. And I think, sadly, I think that it will become an issue in the coming days.
Additional discussion on the motion? Mr. Urban.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will be supporting this. I do understand the impetus for this legislation came to a head relative to a particular property, but I don't agree with the assumption that this legislation is in regard to a specific property, because in that regard, I think I would not support it. I think the property in question has given a great example of why we need this ordinance, and unfortunately, sometimes it does take that one bad actor to show why we need an ordinance such as this. And I think it does give some leeway and some discretion, and I think that we need to encourage that discretion as it relates to different, we don't necessarily know what personal equipment is going to come forward down the road, just like I don't think 50 years ago anybody even knew what a half pipe was, let alone had one in their backyard. So I think we need to know moving forward as density increases, people are going to be more sensitive to these types of issues. And that's why I think we need to support this. And if it does come back that this is not a good way to do it, then amend it down the road. But I think we need to have the courage to take care of this tonight and help those residents that are being impacted right now.
Thank you. Additional discussion on the motion? Before I call for a vote? Okay, we will close the discussion. Would the clerk please poll the council? Thank you. We will move to agenda item number 3. Ms. Nosler-Beck, would you please introduce this item?
Thanks, Mayor. Council Bill number 15-2021, an ordinance revising compensation for the mayor, council members, and mayor pro tem. At issue, as a part of the 2022 budget process, staff conducted a survey of other Colorado municipalities concerning the compensation for mayors and council members. Survey results indicated Wheatridge compensation is significantly lower than neighboring communities. This ordinance increases compensation for the mayor, council members, and mayor pro tem, and requires that this compensation is reviewed every 6 years by city council.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on second reading. This is a public hearing. It is not quasi-judicial. I'm going to open the public hearing. And Mr. Goff, do you have a staff report on this item?
Just real briefly, I'll add a little bit more to this. The annual compensation for the mayor was last increased in 1997 and for city council in 2001. So it's been quite some time. And as Council Member Nosler-Beck mentioned, survey results show that Wheatridge is significantly lower in compensation for mayor and council members compared to our neighbors in the metro area. This ordinance will increase the mayor's compensation to $21,600 annually, council members to $14,400 annually, and an additional $200 monthly for a stipend for the mayor pro tem. We do have this money budgeted in the 2022 budget, and this will only impact the 4 council members and the mayor whose seats are up for re-election this November. The remaining 4 council members, the increase would take effect in 2 years from this November.
Thank you. Before we go to questions from council, I would like to invite the public to speak on this issue. If you're a member of the public and would like to speak on agenda item number 3, now is your opportunity to do so. I have no one signed up to speak on my sign-up sheet, but anyone here in the hall or on Zoom format, if you would raise your hand if you wish to speak on this. I see no one coming forward to speak in the hall, and I don't see anyone with their hands raised, so we will conclude that portion of our agenda item and go to any questions of council before I close the public hearing. I'm going to close the public hearing, and Ms. Nosler-Beck, a motion is in order.
I move to approve Council Bill number 15-2021, an ordinance revising compensation for the mayor, council members, and mayor pro tem on second reading, and that it takes effect upon adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Urban. Is there discussion on the motion?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Urban?
I graduated from Arvada High School in 1997, for the record. Just so we're clear about how long it's been since compensation's been raised. And as it relates to 2001, I graduated from college. But I'll stop there and just say that as it relates to increasing the compensation of elected officials, it's a pretty easy punching bag as it relates to, oh, they're increasing their compensation. But this speaks to a larger systemic issue with individuals being willing and desiring to serve as elected officials. And I would point to the current election and the lack of candidates in our current election as a symptom of something that we're trying to fix here tonight by increasing the salary, not for anybody here, but for those that are elected in November. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Additional discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council? Thank you. We will now go to agenda item number 4. Ms. Hulteen, would you please introduce this item?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to introduce Council Bill number 17, 2021, an ordinance approving the rezoning of property located at 4535 Wadsworth Boulevard from residential 2, R2, to mixed-use neighborhood, MUN, case number WZ 2105, at issue. The applicant is requesting approval of a zone change from residential 2 to mixed-use neighborhood for property located at 4535 Wadsworth Boulevard. The zone change will result in a zoning that matches surrounding zoning designations, as well as the character of the Wadsworth corridor.
Thank you. This is an ordinance on first reading to set the date, time, and location for a public hearing. May I have a motion, Ms. Hulteen?
Yes, I move to approve Council Bill number 17, 2021, an ordinance approving the rezoning of property located at 4535 Wadsworth Boulevard from residential 2 to mixed-use neighborhood on first reading, order it published, public hearing set for Monday, October 25th, 2021 at 7 p.m. as a virtual meeting and in City Council chambers if allowed to meet in person on that date per COVID-19 restrictions, and that it take effect 15 days after final publication.
Second.
We have a motion and a second by Mr. Stites. Would the clerk please poll the council? Thank you. We will go to agenda item number 5. Ms. Dozeman, would you please introduce this item?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Motion to award a contract and approve subsequent payments of $2,784,939 to Farrington Construction for the Prospect Park Phase 2 Improvement Project and approve a contingency in the amount of $200,000. At issue, the award of this contract will continue the efforts to revitalize Prospect Park with the addition of several park amenities, replacement of the main picnic pavilion shelter, rerouting of the main drive into the south parking lot, relocation of the playground, adding amenities including cornhole, horseshoe pits, and a smaller shelter, construction of a fishing pavilion on the northeast side of Prospect Lake, landscaping in the currently unimproved area on the north side of the park, and removal of current tennis courts with addition of lighted pickleball courts.
Thank you. This is a bid motion of the council. It is not quasi-judicial. Mr. Goff, do we have any further staff presentation on this item?
Karen O'Donnell, our Parks and Rec Director, will just give a few more details.
Okay. Ms. O'Donnell.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. In addition to what was just shared in the issue on what to expect with Prospect Park Phase 2, I just wanted to remind you of the other phases. Phase 1 was completed in the spring of 2018 and included drainage improvements, construction of 3 sports fields, fencing replacement, pedestrian walkway construction, and irrigation improvements. Additionally, there is a Phase 3 planned for this project. It remains unfunded at this time, but that represents the northern portion of the park and includes a new restroom building and storage, Berbert House renovations, a picnic area with play features, and parking lot improvements. And just wanted to remind you all, too, that we have over $500,000 in grants that go towards this project, and we're just really anxious to get construction underway. So if you have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you. Before we go to questions of council, I will invite the public to speak on this agenda item number 5. If you would like to speak, now is your opportunity. I don't have anyone signed up to speak, but if you're here and would like to speak, you may speak now by coming to the podium, and I'll ask Ms. Scheck if we have anyone on the Zoom format with their hand up, and we do not. So I will close the public right to speak and entertain any questions that council may have. Ms. Dozeman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to know if you had an update regarding the batting cages. Are those planning on staying, or is that not a part of this phase?
That's, it's not part of this phase, but it is something that has recently come up. We do know they're in bad shape, so we will either be taking them down, or our Parks, Forestry, and Open Space Manager had the idea to use that to store mulch or other park-related items, so we can make them look a little nicer and be useful, but they're not currently being used or haven't been in quite some time by any of the youth sports organizations, nor do they have the desire to use them moving forward.
Thank you.
Any other question? Ms. Hutchinson?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm glad that you're having horseshoe pits. I hope they're regulation, and I'm wondering how many.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't answer that question off the top of my head, but I can get back to you if that's all right.
okay.
Close enough.
Yeah. More
Thank-
than
Thank you.
one.
Ms. Weaver?
Thank
I
you.
was just going to echo the excitement, except around pickleball. Several of the District 3 constituents have contacted me regarding their excitement around pickleball, so
Very
horseshoe and pickleball.
Very popular games. Ms. Nosler Beck?
Karen, can you talk a little bit more about the lighting? I know you said the pickleball courts are going to be lighted pickleball courts. Sorry, my mask is really bugging me. And then also, the reason for my question is that I've had quite a few constituents over the summer reach out about just the activities going on in the park at night, and just wondering if there's more lighting that's going to be going into this.
I believe that that's the only lighting associated with this particular phase, but I will double check and make sure and get back to you on that. But that lighting is specifically so that you can play at various hours of the day. And in a park space like that where you don't have neighbors adjacent, it's a great spot to have lighting on an amenity like that.
Thank you. Additional discussion on this item before we go to a motion? Okay, seeing none, Ms. Dozman, may I have a motion on agenda item number 5?
I move to award a contract and approve subsequent payments to Farrington Construction in the amount of $2,784,939 for the Prospect Park Phase 2 Improvement Project, and approve a contingency in the amount of $200,000.
Second.
Okay. Who else besides Mr. Urban was in there?
Me.
Okay, okay, Ms. Nosler Beck is the second on this. Do we have discussion on the motion? Seeing none, will the clerk please poll the council? Thank you. Okay, that concludes our regular agenda items. Let us go now to City Manager's Matters. Mr. Goff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a few items. I'm excited to announce that we did receive our concurrence from CDOT, finally, on the Wadsworth project. So we do have a ribbon, or not ribbon cutting, it's not quite done yet, a groundbreaking scheduled for October 12th at 10 a.m. So I think you all got invitations for that. So excited for that project to kick off. We're bringing the budget back for final approval to City Council on October 11th. So we're still looking for any citizen, resident, public comment that you may have. You can go to What's Up Wheatridge for that. And then also the Green Project, where the potential civic community space on 38th Avenue, we're looking for comments on the conceptual designs on What's Up Wheatridge. And that goes through October 15th. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to City Attorney's Matters. Mr. Dahl.
Nothing tonight, thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll go to Elected Officials Matters, and I'll start with our Deputy Clerk to see if he or the clerk has left anything that they'd like us to know tonight.
I'm sorry, no, he did not say anything, but, you know, we have the elections coming up. We want to make sure that people turn in their mail ballots. If they take them to the mail drop-off boxes in our city of Wheatridge, they do not have to pay postage. If they do put them in the mail, then yes, you are required to pay postage on those ballots.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we will go to our other elected officials and start with Ms. Nosler Beck.
Really excited about the Sustainable Neighborhoods coming to Fruitdale. That's going to be really a great program. So I'm excited to work with Kayla on that, and I think that's all I've got.
Thanks so much. Ms. Hutchinson.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Ms. Dozman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to thank Jefferson County Open Spaces for hosting a cleanup along the trail this last Saturday. They covered several miles of Clear Creek Trail, and they ended at Anderson Park. I wasn't able to make it out there, but I saw several friends post about it, and so the word got out to the community, and people participated, so I wanted to thank them for hosting that event. And I was walking along the trail today, and it was noticeably cleaner. I noticed some signs for revegetation on some of the other trails, and about half of the cyclists were very courteous and would say on your left, and thank me or greet me as they rode by, and then about half of them seemed to not know the rules of cycling and pedestrian trails, and so that was a little unfortunate, but I hope that if we do have a lot of cyclists, because we do have a lot of cyclists on the Clear Creek Trail, that you're adhering to the rules of the road and just being mindful of pedestrians and dogs and children. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Urban?
Nothing this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Hulteen?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two things. First, I just want to remind everybody I'm hosting a District 2 meeting this Saturday, October 2nd at 10 o'clock at the Happiness Gardens Pavilion. And I'll be providing some updates about what's going on in the city, specifically focused on District 2. And we'll be joined by one of the communications person for the Wadsworth project, who will help talk about what are the different communications that the city will be utilizing and that are available to constituents during that project. The second thing is I just want to be really excited about District 2 and its presence at the Wheatridge Business Awards breakfast that I attended. I'm just going to rattle off some stuff here. So the 2021 Reinvestment Award nominees, all but two were District 2 businesses, and two of the winners were District 2, Barda House and West End 38. The Cultural Commission Award went to Stylus and Crate in District 2. The City Council Partnership Award went to Eugene Kang from Colorado Plus. And the Wheatridge Sustainability Award, both nominees were District 2, and including iPie and Stylus and Crate again, and Stylus and Crate 1. So I just really feel like it's been a great year in District 2. We've got great businesses, and so definitely spend your money in Wheatridge, but District 2 offers you some really great high-achieving businesses. So just feeling District 2 proud.
Spread the wealth. Thank you. Ms. Weaver?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Stites?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Had a really awesome block party on Saturday night for the Applewood kind of area block party. And so our Sustainable Neighborhoods earned their award there as well. So I want to congratulate both District 3 Sustainable Neighborhoods, Applewood and Paramount Heights. And last week we did our budget presentation, or listened to the budget presentation, and we saw how much money comes from local sales tax. So if you can find it, buy it in Wheatridge.
Thank you. Ms. Hoppy?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you again to Scott and Rebecca from the Family Tree to come in and give us some information while they were getting the domestic violence proclamation. What they did tell us, though, is that there is a virtual How to Help training, which is on Wednesday, October 27th, and you can go to thefamilytree.org if you would like to attend that training. Also, I just would like to say, if you have the means, please keep in mind the Family Tree for maybe donation and support, and also the Porchlight Justice Center, which the Family Tree also helps with. And other than that, have a great night.
Thank you. I would like to congratulate all the folks, the businesses that participated in the business awards and actually that do business in Wheatridge. We had a great event on last Thursday morning. It was my pleasure to be there and to help out with that. I want to congratulate all the award winners and the nominees. Great winners. And I'd like to thank our staff and Mr. Goff's staff and office for putting that on for us. I'd like to congratulate the Sustainable Neighborhoods groups, Applewood and Paramount Heights, for joining us tonight, and I think that's a great program. I'm excited that Southeast Wheatridge looks like they're a neighborhood that's going to get involved with that program, so I'm looking forward to that, and I hope that as you look at things to do in the city, that you will keep those opportunities available and at the top of your list. And I want to also caution everyone, it's getting let's see, lighter later and in the morning and darker earlier in the evening, and it's harder to see, and we've got great evenings to be out, and our children are out and about and playing and having a good time, so I hope everyone will take an opportunity to really be careful with how you drive and drive slowly and safely through our city. With there being no more business, Ms. Dozeman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize for the interruption. However, some of the comments about the Wheatridge Business Association Awards reminded me that Corey Stites and Mrs. Stites, Sarah Stites, won Business of the Year with Personal Achievement Martial Arts. My children go there and have for several years, and it was very well-deserved this year. I would say that you pivoted and adapted well to COVID and allowed for some sense of normalcy in our lives. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. Well, I'm not going to top that, so with that, I'll say thank you, Mr. Stites, and with there no more business to come to council, we will stand adjourned. Good evening.